Welcome back to Theraphase Biofield Tuning. I'm Shauna Mayfield today. I have Nicole Lo Presti, who reached out to me wanting to talk about biofield tuning and her pathway into that practice, coming from a background in yoga and psychology. And I'm fascinated with hearing people's stories of how it is that they are finding their way through the practice. How is it working in their personal lives? How are people receiving biofield tuning? What are the benefits? Is a very big question that I really want to focus on and address. I think Nicole has this wonderful perspective, and she is a practitioner who is in Vermont and actually offers sessions in person through the Biofield Tuning Clinic. You can reach Nicole Lo Presti through her website at movinginsightvt.com. Shifting perspective, rewriting the story, wiring old patterns. Beautiful website. Here are her services: biofield tuning. She gives a description of all of that. And this is what she has written in her About section. When the body relaxes, the mind relaxes. When the mind relaxes, the body can heal itself. When the body is relaxed, it begins to entrain new patterns. In times of stress or trauma, personal or collective, acute or chronic, we have the tendency to fragment or disassociate. The parts of the body or psyche that got the most injured will split off, hide, or go numb. We then learn to function from a lack of wholeness and develop poor habits and behaviors, including addictions. We can learn to awaken and reintegrate those lost, dormant pieces. Through the moving insight method, we use tuning forks, breath work, intention, attention, and mindful movement to clear dissonance in your body and energy field so that your signal becomes clear. Your ability to reintegrate dormant parts of the body and psyche is strengthened, and your capacity to respond to the moment is amplified. Nicole is an artist, yoga facilitator, and biofield tuning practitioner. Intrigued by human thought, behavior, and emotion, Nicole chose to formally study psychology at Riviera University in New Hampshire, completing her Bachelor of Arts degree. As she got more and more curious about the nervous system, stress, and trauma, she flew to Bali, Indonesia, for a 200-hour yoga teacher training to expand her toolbox. A life-altering experience amidst mystical bungalows, bamboo jungles, and sacred temples. Her yoga training influenced her to continue developing tools for navigating the human experience and cultivating a harmonious lifestyle. Weaving in and out of energy medicine modalities, she grew a desire to develop her own spirituality and intuitive skills, especially as a highly sensitive person recovering from post-traumatic stress. Eventually, this led her to discovering biofield tuning amidst the rolling hills of Vermont. Steadily adding pieces to the puzzle of her life's journey, Nicole utilizes tuning forks and all other tools, experiences, academic and intuitive knowledge to develop healing practices that cultivate an authentic and empowered sense of self. Her perspective is really broad, with all of her background coming in from psychology, as well as just being immersed fully with the biofield tuning headquarters right next to Eileen. And so I do feel like, as with Mary McGillivray, who is a teacher, that connecting with people at this caliber is going to help bring you information that is clear in understanding the technique, but also the benefits of biofield tuning. So join me in welcoming Nicole Lo Presti to Theraphase Biofield Tuning Cast. Hello and welcome, Nicole Lo Presti, to Theraphase Biofield Tuning. I'm so happy to have you on, and you are another guest who is a biofield tuning practitioner, and we are continuing these conversations with tuners to discover more about how this work is being brought to the world and how is it being received by people. How is it that you're finding that it's fitting into your life and your path work? And so I'm so pleased to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to chatting with you and being here.
Great. Well, we're going to start things off by just getting a little background about yourself, where you're from, and just a little story of how it is that biofield tuning came into your world. And we'll just start with that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so let's see. I currently live in Northern Vermont. I've been here for about 7 or 8 years. I grew up in southern New Hampshire, so just the next state over. I got here through farming, actually. I did some work trade on farms, and I did that for a little bit. Before I got here in Vermont, I have a background in psychology and yoga, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But I want to talk about how biofield tuning found me, just to make this relevant to kick off our conversation. In 2020, I believe, I was working with a natural medicine doctor who does chiropractic and muscle testing. And I was having some tension in my stomach area, my solar plexus. And so she had offered some supplements that I could try to help with digestion and indigestion. So I was working with the supplements for a little bit. And then at my next session, she was doing some hands-on manipulation. And I was like, you know what? I don't think it's diet or nutrition that's causing this discomfort. I think it's trauma that's being triggered. I do have a hiatal hernia. So that is when the stomach is pushed up into the esophagus a bit. And I was diagnosed with that late teens, early 20s. So it's kind of been an issue for quite a while now. And so when I said that I thought it was my trauma that was being triggered, she asked if I had ever heard of tuning forks and biofield tuning and Eileen McKusick. And I said, well, I know about singing bowls and that form of sound therapy, but tuning forks were totally new to me. And the irony is that Eileen McKusick, the developer of Biofield Tuning, she has been in Vermont for 25-ish years. And so there's plenty of people that know her and that have befriended her or worked with her. But this was the first time that I had been introduced to this modality in her. So I started researching and I found this older video of hers where she has this whiteboard and she's teaching a class.
I think I've seen that one. Yeah. I love her older videos. They're so great.
Yeah. And at the time, so I'm thinking this was 2020 or 2021, she didn't have as much content on YouTube as she does now, but she had some. I never tapped into any of the new stuff. I just found that one video and I was just studying it and like, what is this all about?
It's new, right?
And then I found a practitioner to work with and like this was just... to talk about alignment and the fruitfulness of the work itself. So I saw that natural medicine doctor, and then I found a practitioner and worked with that practitioner, I'm not sure how many times. And then later on in February, my partner, Brian, was looking in our local newspaper for the whole state of Vermont. There's just all sorts of stories and jobs and whatnot. And in the job section, was a job offering in the shipping department of Biofield Tuning.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
So I had gone from never hearing about this at all to finally it's showing up in my life.
How about this? Yes. It was like a step. Here's the next step.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Serendipitous.
And so I was like, no way is that in there right now for a job posting. So I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, a shipping department, I've never had any thought or desire to pack and ship things.
Sure.
But I was like, well, this is a sign. And I was ready to try something different, but something that didn't require engaging with the public.
Oh, there you go. Shipping department.
Yeah, totally. And I had been teaching yoga for many years, but the pandemic was happening. People were not sure whether they should go out, not go out.
Everybody's life changed in 2020 from COVID and all kinds of other things.
One way or another, for better or for worse.
For sure.
Yeah. So I figured that was going to be such a great thing. Minimal contact with the public. And it wasn't, I feel like personally, I want to be clear here. I was not afraid of the public in terms of germs and contagion. It was more of like, I can't handle the energy and the emotional turmoil right now. So I need to just go hide in a corner somewhere.
For sure. Thanks for that distinction.
And so I applied for the job. And then I heard back a little while after and did the interview process, and I got the job and then started working there and learning the ropes, behind the scenes. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole thing. There's a whole training program. There's classes to take.
Right. Yeah.
So not too long after that, maybe I honestly, the expansion and contraction of time, Shauna.
Oh, yes. I know. It's
the timeline, I'm not really sure. But at some point that year, so let's say I started the job in April of 2022, that I know because I'm coming up on my anniversary. Maybe in the summertime, I started foundations. And then I just kept going. I did virtual foundations and practitioner training, and then they started doing in-person things again. So I did level 3 and 4 in person.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Here I am now.
All the levels. I didn't even know there was a level 4.
Mastering the artistry.
What? I maybe haven't looked at the website in a while. Oh my goodness. That's so great that you're right there and you were able, and you're still working there in the shipping department. You've shipped tuning forks to me probably.
Yeah. So often I see familiar names from class or whatnot. And I'm I try not to do it because I try to be professional, but I'm so tempted to write little notes like, hi, love Nicole.
Good luck. How cool that you have that connection into her company. What a great, and I've heard so many great things just as a company itself, how wonderful it is to be on that team and work in that group. So, but you got your one after the next all the way through 4, and now you have all of this, and you're practicing on your own as well. Have you started on your own, have your own place, or how are you bringing it into your world, the work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've been teaching yoga for probably 15 or so years. So that's a long time. And even with that, I've never launched my own private business. I have a website, but everything's really been under the radar. I don't know what that's about. I do. My higher self knows.
Yep.
And so it's just always been kind of nice to have, my own side thing. And okay, to be honest, it partly is that fear of putting myself out there and really being seen in the world. So I have always kind of hid behind this other thing that, is already, they have the taxes, all the business stuff lined up. And so it's okay, it's safer there. They have all their ducks in a row. I can hide behind their facade. So in terms of my personal biofield tuning practice, I do have a home studio. And so that's available for friends, family, neighbors, farmers.
Sure.
The farmers need support.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So that's available. But primarily, I work out of the Biofield Tuning Clinic in the Burlington, Vermont area. So I'm right at headquarters, splitting my time between the clinic and the shipping department.
Oh, that's so sweet. I didn't know that you were working in the clinic. So people can book a session through the Biofield Tuning website and find you on there?
Yes.
Oh, that's so great. I'm going to book a session with you.
Yay, please
Yeah,
do.
no, I do. That's wonderful. What is your ambitions from here? Are you feeling like that's really comfortable right now, or are you starting to feel like maybe you're growing into something new down the road? What are you looking towards?
Well, I can say that through giving and receiving as many sessions as I've had so far, it's really unraveling. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? It's like
Uh-huh.
getting to the core of who you are,
Yeah.
clearing away the debris, all the noise, Eileen would say, that gets in the way of
It
living
is.
our full potential.
Yeah.
And so, as much as I love being in flee mode, I'm trying to stay grounded and really allow my higher self, my sources of guidance to lead the way,
Yeah.
and be patient to receive the guidance on where to go next. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of settled in right here. I am getting a little antsy because I do live in a very cute little Vermonty town, but as I was telling you earlier, I live right on Main Street above a coffee shop, which has its benefits, but it's noisy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And things are constantly buzzing and
Got it.
vibrating, and
Yeah.
all the HVAC systems and
Oh,
the
right.
cars.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
So
buzz.
anyone who's lived in or even just been in a large or a small city knows
Oh, yeah.
the amount of
Yeah.
noise. So I am a little bit antsy to move on, but I don't
Mhm.
know where that is. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna take any leaps.
It's that time right now. I feel like so many people are experiencing that sensation of like, I feel it's like magnetism, right? You feel like there's a little pull, little tugging, little something going on there, stirring, but not so super clear exactly all the time. It seems like all the steps are coming. There's just like this huge trust building that's happening. Or it's like
Yes.
one day, one moment, and just trusting that you're like what Eileen says, that your future self has got this, right? It's all worked out in that on that level. And there's just little pieces that we get when you're ready, like morsels of food. Like take this, and now you see this next step.
Oh, yeah. And clearly, from my description of how Biofield Tuning found me, it's just so real and valid the way that works. And it's really interesting how it's happening currently in my life, just like one little breadcrumb and the next breadcrumb.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I see it, I wrote it in my journal this morning or last night because I had a really powerful session. I was the giver, and so I had a client come to receive. And the more that we calibrate ourselves and cleanse and purify our center and get grounded, the more that creates expansion. And we calibrate to the things that are available to us.
Mm.
So essentially, we're calibrating our potential. And the
Good.
more aligned we get with that, the more we become available to the
Yeah.
things that are meant for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's so perfect right there. What you just said, calibrating our potential, calibrating to our potential. Because that's what
Yeah.
it feels like to me as well with the biofield tuning is, I mean, we say attunement and alignment a lot, but that word calibration, a very precise word. And it's not necessarily something that you're calibrated and you're done. All the finest instruments in the world still need that right before you play them. They're going to get tuned exactly perfectly because the environment is always changing. The moisture and humidity in the room changes things. And so that's what we're working with, is constantly being aware that the biofield tuning has brought in a new awareness of your biofield being something that you can calibrate. It gives you a greater sense of ability to do something, not be so swayed by everything. I think that's something that I felt like it's helped me a lot with, is that you are not such a victim to the environment or other people's energy or the world and what's going on. Like you have that power to directly connect yourself from that centered position to the earth, to the universe, the cosmos, and it's direct. There's no interference there. And when you can tap into that and be that, like I was saying before, that's how you kind of become this tuning fork person, really. Your vibration, your resonance is attracting what you need, bringing it to you. And that's the trust. Like, I trust that the clients that are meant to find me will find me at the right time. Oh, yeah. So there's no worry. And I think it can get a little challenging when we start a business, and we're trying to pay our rents for our spaces and things like that. And there can be this, like, I need clients. It's like, so there's a bit of a adjustment, I think, that happens with this work where you can attune and calibrate yourself to take out the noise of maybe desperation or worry or doubt. I don't know if this is right or whatnot. And what I've done is found that if you love what you do, do it. Whether, wherever it takes you, it's your vocation. It's something you do because you love, and just trust in that process and continue with it. So I love it. Calibrate to your potential.
And all this languaging in biofield tuning is a new language for me. Part of my higher self understands it, but I previously went to college for my undergrad for psychology. That was my baseline in the world. And there were things that I understood as a child, but as an adult entering the adult world, psychology gave me my initial languaging for human behavior, human thought, but it felt like something was missing. So often I would go to Barnes and Noble, the bookstore, and I would be in the self-help section, just reading all sorts of things about how to help myself. So I chose psychology as a major because there was quite a bit of dysfunction in my family growing up. And I've always been observant, partly because I needed to in my environment growing up, but also because I think that's just how I came in. That's just one of my gifts that I have. And so, I would observe my family throughout my whole childhood and my teen years. And I thought that by studying human behavior, I could go back and fix them. And really it was so that I could be comfortable. So I'm like, oh my God, I feel comfortable. Who am I? I don't know who I am, but I know that I'm uncomfortable in the world. Maybe if I can figure out how to go back and heal and fix my family, we can try it again.
Yeah.
It took me some time to realize no, I mean, there are some methods of going back in time to renegotiate our patterns in the ways that we responded to things. But I was like, no, I'm not changing anyone else. I'm not going to change anyone in my family. So then I was like, okay, well, let's go to the self-help section and see what they have to say about me. Because I call it psych school. In psych school, you're not really taught a whole lot about yourself. I mean, they do tell you, they warn you, do not diagnose yourself, because as you're studying the DSM, it's so easy to read all the symptoms of all the disorders and say, oh, ooh.
That's me. I fit there. It's normal. Do I do that? Yeah, you want to know where to fit in. That's the thing about making all these labels and categories. People always want to do that first. Where do I fit in that?
Yeah, it's a part of the pathologizing in the diagnosing. That's kind of what we're trained to do. And so my goal in psych school was that someday I wanted to have my own private practice, but I didn't realize that entailed getting a master's degree, maybe even a PhD, and getting all these higher qualifications to prove that I was eligible to help people. So I always had my own little side curriculum that I was creating for myself. And then I started learning about the nervous system. And over time, really understanding how jacked up my nervous system had been. I mean, my baseline, my whole life, in a little bit now, was anxiety.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. It was just normal. But to walk in the world being anxious all the time, I mean, we humans are so amazing in our capacity to function despite trauma and turmoil. Yeah. Wow. I mean,
yeah, it is. I know. I'm amazed every day about that. It's just people dealing with a lot of dysfunction and just the body. Yeah. I'm like, bodies are resilient. They want to live. and put themselves in a healing state.
And in that natural intelligence, that blueprint that Eileen talks about, and helping the body, the nervous system, our consciousness remember what our natural blueprint was before we came into this world and were imprinted by our family, by the school system and society and all the things.
Yeah.
So eventually in 2014, I went to a yoga teacher training in Bali. So I was there for 5 weeks because I had been really good at escaping myself. And, I did that through alcohol. I did it through dancing. I did it through really intense workouts and weightlifting.
Oh, wow.
But when I was working at a gym doing personal training, someone had introduced me to yoga. I was aware of it back in high school. I took a class that someone invited me to in high school.
Yeah.
But later on in my adult life at the gym, someone had recommended like a weekend long yoga training. So I did that. And that was my avenue into all this nervous system stuff. So I went to my teacher training, and that just like changed my life. I mean, there's a lot of life-changing moments. There's never really one, whoa.
No, but there's some that are more than others,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So
that really took me down a pathway of studying, just getting a new language, as I was mentioning. So I started with the language of psychology and the lens that they understand human behavior. And then I shifted to yoga and studied a bit of Buddhism and meditation. Oh, wow. So that gave me a whole different lens in language to understand. And that's really what this whole path is about for me, is finding all the ways possible and all of the languages and all of the words to really understand. That's like just something that I've always been passionate about, even when I didn't know it as a child. But I'm always curious about humans and why we behave the way we do, why we feel the way we do, why we think the way we do. And so I'm just really determined to acquire as many tools and languages to really understand.
Oh, yeah.
And so Biofield Tuning has this whole other different language. And so that's where I have to really surrender and allow my own higher self and my consciousness to just take it all in. Because otherwise, when I'm trying to understand it through the lens of psychology and the lens of yoga, I do see how it overlaps, but it's also a bit different. And so you were talking about connecting to the earth and the sun and removing the noise. This is Biofield Tuning language. This is language of energy medicine. Energy medicine and Biofield Tuning are very similar, but also, again, very distinct. So what I'm finding, especially as my tuning sessions that I'm offering to people are getting more and more intense, especially yesterday, I had this moment when I got home last night where I was like, wow, this is a reflection of how much healing I've done of my nervous system, because any previous selves of me would not have been able to handle that. I mean, I've been a social worker, I've worked with adults and children, but I don't agree with the systems that have been put in place to help people. So that's why I'm on this alternative path. But I just had this moment of, wow. And that's that expansion and contraction. So I've been able to, through giving and receiving Biofield tuning sessions, calibrate my nervous system, but that's where I'm merging and blending all of my tools.
Yeah, that's important to do, because her language is amazing. That's what initially drew me into what she does. But it might not land with everybody. So I think we're always using comparisons, like nervous system, electrical system. Sure, it's all running with the electricity. So
yes, definitely. So as I calibrate, I'm attracting clients that I've always dreamed of having, but they're really intense. Now, it depends on which lens you're perceiving this. From our modern psychiatric system, they would be crazy. And, and they're not dysfunctional. They're very high functioning people, but they would just get, I know they would be labeled with certain things. And that's what I didn't appreciate about that industry, that
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in labels. I don't believe in putting people or myself in boxes. I mean, I studied psychology, but I certainly tried to keep myself out of the system. I did have some therapists within the system, but honestly, Shauna, I felt like I had a mental illness between the ages of probably 12 and 30.
Okay.
Looking back on it now, like
Sure.
very, very tumultuous anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, all of those escape mechanisms that I was performing so that I didn't have to confront myself. And so the calibration is just so important, and receiving that reflection in the intensity of my sessions and the clients who are coming to
Oh,
me.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I can actually hold space for what's happening in this session and not leave my body, not disassociate, not get so afraid of the moment and all of the expression that this person is offering in this moment that I can't even hold space for them. And so it's so amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what it takes, really. I mean, because you are holding space. You're creating a container. You're creating a space for that. You're facilitating a moment for this person to come in touch with parts of themselves and bring that back together. Sometimes it can go in so many different directions, the response that they are experiencing during a tuning session. When I first started getting into understanding energy work 15, 20 years ago, just on my own reading, and I learned Reiki, I really felt like it's taken me that long just to get to a point where I can hold that space for somebody and be that grounded, calm person to just let it wash, and not wobble. And it's a resonance thing. You'll wobble. And it's like, do I resonate with you? Are we both going to break down here? Because I don't. That's not what I want to be for this person, So
Yeah.
I completely hear you. It takes so much time. And that's a lot of what we're working with is the nervous system, really. When we think about how this is feeding into the body, a lot of it has to do with the whole endocrine system, really. So there's a lot of intelligence there just in those organs that we're working with. And I think many people are walking around living their lives in a state of stress, like disassociated a little bit almost from that signal of stress that's just been like a constant drip feed, and you get desensitized to that. It's just a part of the culture, and people, you're taught to just get on with your life and move on. And we're so fragmented and shattered, just ancestrally, all of it. Right. And so it takes time, and it takes people like yourself and me and people who are coming into regulation, who can be in that room when it's starting to be chaotic around you and be the tuning fork. That I still struggle sometimes with that. It's just like social anxiety, just a lot, just the energy of a room. Even I felt like my body would shake, just trying to be in a room. Nothing crazy is even happening. People aren't freaking out. It's just like even the energy of a room can be a lot to be in. And so this language that we're using, in some ways, it needs to be really approachable and easy to understand. I find that I'm modifying often, depending on who I'm talking to, what kind of words I'm using, just to help ease that conversation, to make it more presentable in their world, because not everybody is seeing through the same lens. I've got clients that want to talk about fairies and all these other things, and then there's some people where it's like, hey, this is just to help you relax, that's it. So it's just a very wide, expansive group of different people that we're working with, and so there is a sensitivity to words and language and how you approach the work and bring it to them. So yeah, it's a self-discovery too, right? Is what you were talking about, like knowing yourself, and the more work that you're doing to this calibration process, then the more comfortable you are in your own skin and in the world, in your body, and people. You don't even necessarily have to say anything because you're resonating that vibe. And when people are in your presence, it's like,
Yeah.
what is that? Why are you so present here? How did you get that? And sometimes people might be afraid of it too and not want to be around you. That's fine. But it can be a little scary or intimidating to be seen. And I think what you were saying about hiding out, it's pretty common, really. Most people are kind of evading that full exposure. Even really wide open kind of people. I was just working with a client yesterday, and it was just like the heart energy. It wants to be really full open and seen, and just like, this is the truth of my heart right now. And he's just dealing with like, yeah, and then it wants to, and then it goes, "Ooh," and it recoils. Like, as soon as we feel like, oh, did I say the wrong thing? Or maybe that person thought that, or I don't want to be received in the wrong way. There's just all this the guarding and blocking and protecting, and then it restricts that natural open expansion of just radiating your presence.
You said earlier that we attract the clients that are meant for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so true. Now, of course, we're all entrepreneurs developing our business, and we want to market ourselves. But the more that you do your inner work, that is going to emit outwards.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a slower process because I'm not a fan of hurrying up and doing all the work and taking all the trainings. And then you have all these letters after your names to really show how awesome and qualified you are.
Right.
I'm not a fan of that because we have to integrate. And we tell our clients that, right? We have a whole part of our sequence where we're integrating at the end of a session. And whatever your integration process is and however long that takes, you have to allow your body to calibrate to a new frequency. Because we are creatures of habit. Our nervous system and our brain is intended to keep us safe. So we're always going to be fighting that, not fighting, but having that tension of falling back into old patterns. Because if my pattern is to escape from my body through whatever means or addictions that I have, that is my intelligence keeping me safe, so that I feel safe, that I feel protected, even though, and this is very, like trauma, psychology related, even though that unsafe moment is no longer happening because it was when I was 6 years old, it's still real and present in my body now.
Yeah, exactly.
So the more that we can do that work to calibrate and to really get to the core of our true selves, then that is the frequency that's going to emit outwards. And that's the trick of it, because, and that's why it's helpful to work with others, whether it is the therapist or a biofield tuning practitioner or a Reiki practitioner, anyone you can find. I mean, I have like my own comprehensive team of healers that I go to, and they do shamanism, they do channeling, they do all the things. And then I have a counselor that I talk with. And so whatever support system you can create for yourself so that you can calibrate to the true you, because otherwise we don't realize, really, because we're just so used to it and blind to it. It's our blind spots. We don't realize that we are emitting fear. We are emitting self-doubt. That's just the reality of it.
No, it's wild, actually. I've become far more compassionate to people because I'm recognizing a lot more and not taking it personally, which is great. When somebody's just projecting that. And I'll hear, I had a wonderful teacher the other day, this person I had a little entanglement with, and she used words like, she literally says, "I'm so disappointed." And I was just like, disappointed. Okay. And she's saying this to me, "I'm so disappointed." And I'm like, I recognize that pattern.
And it's like, I don't have to own that she's in that place and feel responsible for somebody else's, but it's the compassion of like, people aren't necessarily aware that they are putting that on another person and making it about them instead of about the other person, making it about the other person instead of about themselves. Right. So it's that accountability for where you're at, and to know that this is a surface situation or conversation that's bringing up something that's far more deep to them, some other past experience or trauma or whatnot that's drawing this up right now. And so basically you're having sessions with people all the time in all of your conversations, in your relations. It's a constant process is what I'm finding. It's like, I don't think we're getting out of this work. When you put your tuning forks away and you leave your office, it's pretty much full on, whether you're walking into the store or any of your business relations, really. And so it's helping people know themselves by not getting into that entanglement with them. Because really, what is that? It's like a drama almost. Like they're coming out to play a part. It's like shadow work, right? The shadow drama play. And so they've conjured up this shadow aspect thing. And usually it requires other people to get involved in this drama to create a scene, to play something out, to change the response, to do something different maybe. But typically, like what you're saying, it's a pattern, and they tend to fall back on these same things. That's why we keep having these repeat experiences. It's in the field, right? And so the tuning work is helping to clarify that signal so that you can relate to it differently, which is what I think is so cool about the tuning. But you do need multiple angles of approach. It's massage, yoga. And that's why it's like, you got to self-discover what it is that is going to put you in that place where you can calibrate, So it's super fascinating. I've become a lot more compassionate, or compassionate is a good word, but it's different. It's more like understanding, or more like, it's more like a love for humanity, I suppose. Just really wanting to see people unveil and reveal and reach the full potential, and just seeing them in that way is far more powerful than feeling like, what's wrong with people? What's wrong with me? Why can't we, what's this? Why is everything so dysfunctional? And it's just, instead of being in it in that way, I can be responsible for myself, my energy in any room, any situation, and then not take it in so much when somebody's projecting stuff. Don't take it personal.
Well, it sounds like you've expanded to a place where you can see the whole of reality. And when I say reality, there's not one, there's many layers. And we each have our own reality, as in the perspective in which we see the world based on all of the things in our lifetime that has influenced us. But even going back to our ancestry and past life experiences, not everyone believes in those imprints or that past lives exist, and that's okay. But to those of us who understand that there's a level of validity to that, those are influences. And so we're all just walking around acting out all of the things that have influenced us in life. And also, compassion is a really important word and way of being. And I have not been compassionate in my life. I'm still working on that. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of anger, but that's my stuff.
It's hard for me to say. I'm like, I'm compassionate. I'm working on it too. I'm like, it sounded weird just to even say it. I'm like, I'm being compassionate.
I'm compassionate.
No.
As I understand more and more the many ways that we perceive reality, but also the layers of reality, the non-physical reality, the whole, we work with the biofield, which is each individual's personal field of energy, but then there's the entire quantum field, or some would call it the Akashic record, or we might call it consciousness. And within that field of energy is so much stuff, so much non-physical stuff. As I come to understand all of that, I can have more compassion, because I don't know that someone is acting out the abuse that they've experienced in this life, or maybe they're acting out some sort of possession or entity that's like, operating through them. There's just like a number of things that make us who we are and cause us to behave who we are. And so I find that the more compassion I develop for myself as I do my shadow work, and as I become aware of myself and how I'm engaging with the world and how I'm responding internally, then I can like really sit back and almost create like a hollow bone for my own self and watch myself. And this is very yoga, Buddhist approach to being the witness of your own self. And I think it's probably Native American, shamanistic too, but being able to really not disassociate, but expand upon yourself, so you become the witness, and then you're just watching yourself as you're also being yourself.
I know, it's wild.
It is wild, but as I become the witness more and more, I can develop compassion for myself, because I'm so imperfect, and those parts of me that are imperfect were just wounded or fragmented. So when I can understand that, like, oh, wow, I'm really behaving like a 6-year-old today, literally. I mean, imagine if all Americans and all citizens of the world understood when they were behaving like a 6 or a 12-year-old. Well, like we would be on a great path, because it's like, okay, all right, we need to like, let's go. We're not going to behave like a 6-year-old, and I love you. So it's almost like that I do this a lot in my sessions. When a traumatic memory comes up from a younger age, then I encourage the person to reach their hand out to that young one. And from right now, your older, wiser, bigger, stronger self than that young one, you go back to that young one and say, I have your back. I'm here to support you and protect you. And so it's like we're witnessing our patterns of immaturity, dysfunction, and all of the things, imperfection. But then we're able to like say, like command our own selves and say, let's go. I love you. I have your back, but let's go. We're not going to behave like that, because we're better than this.
I love that you said that, because that happens a lot in sessions. It just appears where there's this reaching, I guess I sort of see it. I see that the current self, or the present self, and then the younger self, there's just these reunions happen. And it's so cool. You said hand reaching. I'm like, that's exactly what I see, is the hands coming together and bridging, like, we're together. I've got you. You didn't get left behind back there, and you have a place, a voice. So it's very interesting that you said that. I've seen it a lot in biofield tuning sessions.
So I just want to reflect, if I could interject for a moment, is connect some dots, because you and I practice biofield tuning, and so we know and we love it. But to anyone who's unfamiliar with it, that's going to listen to this, this stuff is very much like Jungian psychology, where Carl Jung talked a lot about shadow and so many other really in-depth subjects. But also it's very ancestral and native, shamans, indigenous cultures, they just did this sort of thing. And what we're lacking in our modern cultures is the ability to have a tribe or a circle. And we're really like independent in our own silos trying to do this work. And that's why I said earlier, we need someone to reflect back to us. Otherwise we have all these blind spots. And we need, that counsel to hold us the way that we're trying to hold ourselves, to hold us and say, all right, let's do this. Have your breakdown, and let's, calibrate you to the next level. But it also, there's just so many different modalities that are really wonderful out there. Biofield tuning is one amazing modality, but there's also internal family systems, which works a lot with the different parts of self. So I just have to say that, because we live in a world where there's a lot of division and fragmentation and competition.
Oh,
And I guess I just have to say and speak to how wonderful each modality is.
Yes.
Your modality is not better because it's, sanctioned by the industry of psychiatry. And
Right.
yours is not better because it's energy medicine. And yours is not better because it's native and indigenous. Whatever works for people. Because ultimately, to me, our goal is to get to our true core self so that as a human society, we can function well together or better than we're functioning. And so whatever works for you, do it. And like I said, I have this comprehensive team of healers that help me. So, by all means, go work with a psychiatrist and get the pills and prescriptions, and then go work with the shaman practitioner.
I agree with you 100%. There's no one size fits all. And that's part of the excitement, I suppose, for individually is to go, hey, you actually need to figure out what works for you. I think people are used to being handed the thing. Here, take the pill or take this, do this thing, and being told what to do. But I don't think that's going to work. Really, it is like nobody's going to figure out the depth of who you are, but oneself. And so Biofield tuning is amazing. It's new, it's pioneering work, it's definitely leading edge. But again, there's so many other different things, and people are getting results from all kinds of quantum healing. There's just so many different modalities now. And then, of course, you do need to do the physical stuff, whatever that looks like, whether it's yoga, whether it's taking your walks, doing some strength training. Good stuff, really great stuff, because it's all still guiding you back to the self. And it is the best care ever, what you come up with on your own and then follow through with it. And then what you were saying, like have that support system of the different people that you go to or confer with, but you design your own healthcare plan, your own prescriptions, basically. I agree with you. There's so many different things. Maybe somebody's curious about biofield tuning and they don't know. Well, just try it, try it out. And if it's not for you, then walk away and try something else. Just keep going until you get something that clicks with you. And sometimes it's about the practitioner too. It has to do with who you're working with. Make sure you're working with the right person that you feel comfortable around so that can hold that space for you.
Yeah.
100% agree with you. And then look at astrology, look at your birth chart or human design or something like that. They can give you another angle of what you're looking at, all those different components that can come together. I agree. We are all kind of walking around in different moments like that. You can tell like that. I'm coming from my child self right now, but it does feel easier once you get to doing that more. Like it's easier to transition or adjust yourself and kind of have the higher self or the more broader expanded self come in and go, I've got you. This is just that familiar thing that happens, and we can change the way we respond to these situations. But yeah, it's never like done anyway. It's not really something that you go and you get all cleaned up and there you are. It's just like always there's always more, which keeps it exciting. There's layers and depth to it. And then further expansion, like what you keep talking about, this contraction and expansion. It's like, so we can decide what we want to tune into. What does it feel like to be grounded in your body more often throughout your day versus like knowing it's very distinct now. I think that's something tuning has helped me with, just knowing what it feels like to be so off and how uncomfortable that is. And then knowing what I need to do to put myself back into that much more comfortable position, calm, grounded, coherent, centered, neutral. Yeah. So it's a powerful tool. I'm definitely still learning so much about how I can regulate myself in the world. I have a lot of fear of just being in the world. So there's this tendency, I think maybe a lot of people feel that way, where you just want to hide. It's kind of like what we were talking about when we first started, where you think maybe it's easier to ensconce yourself and put the protection up. We kind of walk around like that, like defensive and protect. We protect. But it's like I continue to talk about what Eileen says with radiating and radiance versus as a way to be versus always feeling like you're guarding and protecting. I don't want to get hurt or that person, you know. So it's
those are inner protectors that we've talked about earlier. That's another word of saying, you know, the defense mechanisms or the protectors that don't want us to get hurt. They want us to be safe. And that's part of our natural intelligence. One thing that I tell people in sessions is, at least how I understand it, our expansion and contraction happens in proportion. And so when we remain so contracted, because we have all these barriers of protection, we can only expand to that level. And the opposite is true. So when we really expand, and people who would resonate with being bipolar, like being really manic and then being really low and depressed, which I can relate to an extent, you know those moments where you're so expansive and you feel so good and you're going to go buy the business and do all the things.
Top of the world.
And then the amount that you expand, ultimately, you're going to come into that same level of contraction. It's just like waves, you know, like when we talk about in Biofield, you know, ideally the waves are steady and consistent, not here and here. Because imagine when the wave comes up, this is exciting. It's peaking. All these wonderful things are happening. And then you're going to come down and crash. So whatever you can do to check yourself, and that's tricky, right? Because then that's like a whole other layer of discerning, ooh, well, I'm ready to take this leap into this risky edge here. Is it too big or is it just right? And, you know, whatever, just do whatever you're going to choose to do, and then trust that you'll be able to respond appropriately, even if you do crash and tumble.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody was describing that to me as like a balloon, almost like holding a balloon and being like the elevation of being high in the world, you know, like I'm going to just rise above it all. And it's maybe a little bit like bypassing, you know, like we're going to go way up here and not get real grounded down here to this other stuff, you know. So it's that tendency to elevate. And there's like a gliding down, maybe not such a burst and drop.
Love that.
Like, let's guide this into more steady, because it's normal. We get inspired and we get ideas and but the extreme high and low, there's more of a gradient, and then being okay with the descent, really, like, because it's okay. Like, we have to get more comfortable with that process of dipping down and like, oh, this is a low tone. I'm not feeling too high in the world now. Like, okay, that's okay. We're going to be here now for a minute and then calibrate, adjust ourselves. And then, kind of aiming for the mid tones. We want to be in there. I agree with you. I have those experiences myself, and it becomes just another skill to learn how to navigate the highs and the lows. It's normal. And people want to feel bad about feeling bad. Well, that's not super helpful. It's perfectly normal to dip into the spectrum of experience and emotions. We carry a lot of judgment about ourselves going through that. Sorry. But and
there's that phrase that you have to feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
And often people, we don't have time to feel it, you know, like parents who have children, they're just giving their time and energy to taking care of their children or having a full-time job and putting food on the table. So, you know, sometimes people have to be brave and tough and just pull up their bootstraps and carry on. But often people think that if you allow yourself to go there and feel something, you're never going to get out of it. Once you start crying, you're never going to stop crying, like that sort of mentality. And, well, I mean, at some point, I suppose you would have to, especially if you do have obligations, families to tend to and your job, because we still want to function in this earthly realm in this
Yeah.
society that we've chosen to be a part of. So at some point, I suppose, if you're hanging low and then like suddenly you're not showing up to work and now your kids are dirty and they're not being fed well enough, those are all reflections of, okay, I might still not be fully healed from whatever it is I'm experiencing, but I gotta get up and go.
That's right. I know. That's the thing, is that I'm thinking of my husband when you said, just put your boots on. 'Cause it's like, I think a lot of people maybe can relate to that, where, you just drive, we just got to get through this day. I got to get to my job. I got to make this thing happen. And then, it's easy to go ignore the signals that come in that are meant to guide you gently, like, hey, this is getting a little off here. Let's take a time. But it's coming in, becoming aware of your own needs in each moment. And that's something that I find can be difficult and challenging for people to even put their finger on it. Like, my needs? What are you talking about? Some people are really even like, I've never even thought about what my needs are. They're so constantly involved in the extroverted world. And so it takes a moment to go, whoa, we're going to turn this inward for a moment and then adjust from there. Because it can get a lot.
That's so important to point out, because unfortunately we've arrived at a place historically where, I've been studying more and more shamanism lately. So I would say it's a very shamanic thing, but also very spiritual, or some religions understand, like it's your spiritual self, having a spiritual life, I think, is important for everyone. But we've arrived in this place where we are very material and external. And we've lost the skill. This is that shamanic term that I wanted to say. We've lost the skill to walk between the worlds. So we have our spiritual inner worlds that cultures are still, but have more so in the past, I would say, have developed and really, given a front seat to working with your spiritual and your inner self. And to be able to work and walk with that aspect of life and the physical aspect of showing up to your job and paying your bills, putting food on the table, like that is a lost skill that we have to redevelop.
It's so true. I agree with you 100%. Bridging heaven and earth, or recognizing the kingdom of heaven is within, right? It's such a simple statement that means everything. And so it's a constant adjustment. You're doing the dishes, you're cleaning the toilet. That's spiritual work. I think you can bring that level of consciousness into whatever you're doing. I think that's the true art, really. Like, that's the art of integrating that dimension of experience into your mundane reality, into all of those little things that you do. It's like, you don't know who's going to show up at your house tonight or what for dinner. It could be some saintly person. You're always kind of keeping yourself, your home, your inner world and your outer world. It's like this reflection. Or doing the cleaning in here while I'm cleaning the dishes and the crevices of the parts of my home that I haven't touched in a while. That's what happens when you start doing the inner work. All of a sudden, your environment changes because your inner world is changing. And it's like, who's been living here? This isn't my space. That's not how I would do things.
I can relate to that.
So it's cool though, because then it's that self-discovery. Once you catch on to how exciting that is, it's like, well, what else is there? And I want to pull more of these layers off. And sometimes it's really, really difficult and rough, the stuff that we go through. And it just feels like that's what maybe hell is, that sensation of like, this is the... But it's crazy because you can simultaneously, when you're going in these like dark depths, the dark stuff, you can still pull back and have that layer of like, this is absolutely what you need to see right now. And it might feel like the end of everything sometimes, like the sensation of just being like, the world or life on this planet can be so intense at some points, right? And so like, if we could just hold ourselves in those moments and just kind of, hey, I've got you. Just be with yourself. Maybe it takes a day or 2 days. You don't have to stay there forever, but just go through it. Go through the process instead of avoiding it or ignoring it. It's like, just hold yourself in a moment, get through it.
And having that sense of faith, whether you rely on God for support, I'm now calling it sources of guidance, because some people would say, my guides.
Mm-hmm,
I'm not sure who my guides are yet, but I know that they're there. So I just say sources of guidance. That could be God. That could be Bridget, whoever it is, whatever culture that you resonate with.
Exactly.
But, we're among all of our other tensions in our human family, a lot of people are really disenchanted with the institutions of religion and the dogmatic nature of religion. So there's a lot of atheists, a lot of people that just don't believe in anything. Yeah. And they don't have those anchors that are beyond their limitation of their physical self. Yeah. And having that anchor, whether it's up there or it's back there or down, wherever your anchors and your sources of guidance are, to help you get through those dark, challenging times. But we've really lost connection with that. There's just so much battle over my God and your God, and you're worshiping the devil because you don't talk to God and you talk to
you don't know what you're talking to. There's only this one thing. I know. It's just it gets wild like that. And the disenchanted is a good word. I definitely went through that myself. I was raised in a very tight, constrained religion. But it's like the reconnection. You have to find your own direct connection to what guidance system you want to plug into. Really, you can call it whatever you want. And then don't be trying to shake people around and say, this is the way it is. Like, just resets, like freedom. You give that gift to yourself and give it to other people. Everybody has the freedom to choose how they want to connect to God, or however they want to call that, and call it source, call it the Akashic records, call it universal energy fields of consciousness. We all have that ability to tap in. And I don't think we need I don't think we need permission or some specific initiation. It's like a self-initiation that you create for yourself.
We don't need a middleman or a third party to...
No. People really are looking for like, hey, just tell me the way to do this. Give me the directions. And it's not... We can get a lot of guidance. You can glean so much from, of course, all the religions and the different amazing spiritual people that have walked the earth and written books and left that legacy behind. I mean, it's so many different cultural traditions that we can draw from. And people are probably a lot more eclectic these days anyway, kind of bringing pieces together and making it work for themselves in different ways. So.
Yeah. With that said, I have found that you could get just as much powerful insight from a homeless person on the corner and looking for their next meal. And if you have a conversation with them, they have some wisdom to share. Yeah. So, we idolize the experts and the professionals and the gods, whoever and wherever they are, but just open your eyes and look around and engage with your environment. And
everything's talking to you. God is talking to you through everything.
The trees, the water.
You get messages. It's a constant communication. It's amazing. When you start Biofield Tuning, like teaching you deep listening, I'm like, wow, what else can I listen to? What haven't I been listening to? It's the serendipity, the synchronicities, it's all like in this amazing, beautiful flow. And when you tap into that, you feel it. You're like, oh, there is a flow. It's giving you those messages and information constantly back. I was getting my hair done the other day. This is a really silly example. I was getting my hair done and I was thinking in my mind, I was thinking about my hairdresser. I'm like, she's so sweet. I go, She just reminds me of like American apple pie. I don't know. That's what in my mind, I said this. And then this song came on right after I had the thought of my Miss American Pie. I was like, I can't.
Yes,
Wow.
I love that, Shauna. Especially lately, it's been amplifying and more little things like that.
Yeah.
And the more we can pay attention and tune in, and not that we have to make meaning out of everything,
No,
but
it's just,
I don't think anything is a coincidence.
No.
And so you don't have, like, some people really like grasp on and they're like, oh, this means, and then,
Sure.
and that's fine too.
Can hold. I mean, some of them are more like, oh, that's so significant. And then some of it's just like a reminder almost. Yeah. Don't forget, there's this feedback happening constantly. Communication does not stop. So it comes through everything. It comes through the airwaves. It comes through the radio. It comes through the TV. It comes through your neighbor, the homeless person, or it's just always there as a feedback. So cool and exciting.
I have a short little random story. So let's say I discovered Biofield Tuning, or it came to me in like the month of December. October, before that December, I came home from whatever I was doing that day. I came home and there was a bird on my outer windowsill. And of course, there's pigeons around and they land on your windowsills. But I got closer and I was like, that's not a pigeon. It would have flown away by now. That's like some sort of domestic bird. So it was a cockatiel.
Oh, wow.
That somehow got released from somewhere nearby. And I mean, its wings were clipped. So I don't know how it like took the wave of the wind to land on my windowsill. And of course, to me, it's like the size of a pterodactyl, which is ridiculous. So I get my landlord and he comes up and he's like, well, it's going to be cold soon. You'd be saving its life. And that was 3 years ago. And so now I have this cockatiel.
You still have it. Oh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I haven't like figured out yet what she's come for.
Sure. Yeah.
But some ways.
Animals are amazing like that. They find their people. They just
I really wanted a puppy, but I got a bird instead.
What's her name? Would you give her a name?
Little birdie.
Little birdie. That's so sweet. That's a really cute story. And it came right around that transition time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Nicole, this has been a really beautiful conversation. I would like to know if there's anything else that you want to make sure you are sharing, or that you've said everything that you want to share with people and expressed all of that.
Yeah, just be yourself. And if you don't know what that is, we've touched upon so many different ways and reasons to become yourself. And maybe you don't want to stand out. Maybe you do just kind of want to be like in the backdrop of things, and that's fine too. But if you do have something that you want out there in the world, whether you're a Biofield tuner and you want more clients or whatever, I always bring it back to musicians, because secretly I want to be a singer on stage someday.
Cool.
But if you look at the world of musicians, it's saturated. There are so many musicians and genres of music out there, but none of them have said, oh, there's already plenty of musicians, I'm not going to offer. So you just have to find your audience. Whether you're trying to grow a business or you're just trying to be out there in the world, you have to find whoever your audience is. You're not going to go play your songs at the same cafe to the same one or two people. Maybe that's your jam. But if you want to grow, you might have to really stretch your wings and go somewhere else and find your people, find your tribe, find your audience. I want to leave it at that, because you had mentioned that earlier about finding clients and whatnot. Just stay whoever you are, find out who that is, stay true to that, and then find the people who resonate with that as you extend your antennas out.
It's a very different sensation to be here instead of reaching out and like, I'm trying to fit over there, or fit over here. It's like, no, just be here and then work with magnetism. Just think of yourself as a magnet. It's helpful. And in your programming, like, this is what I am, this is what I like, this is what I do, this is my technique. And then you don't just sit there and go, okay, You actually do have to take steps. There's action involved, and that comes through inspiration. And you'll know it's the right thing to do because you're going to go, don't make me do that. Or, it's like, no. It's like, yeah, that's what you got to do. Go do it. Or
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
And be aware of the opportunities. This is a very Abraham Hicks thing, if you know of Abraham Hicks.
Yep.
It's, okay, I want a red Ferrari, but like an opportunity that's close enough will arise, but you're so fixated on that red Ferrari that you miss this other opportunity that might eventually get you there. So just be open and don't be so in control, like you just said. Just be here, be aware of opportunities, and you'll know it. And sometimes you're going to miss the opportunities. I've missed plenty because I was afraid or I was...
Yeah, there's no worries about that. And then you'll be amazed what happens, the chain of events that happen when you follow through with that first little inspiration of guidance that says, hey, go talk to that person. That one person that I talked to led to my first client, which led to 5 other people that were her friends, which led to me meeting this other person that wants to sell her house. And I'm getting into different fields and stuff. I'm a real estate agent too. But it branches out. And all it took was one conversation where I had to walk into an unfamiliar place and put my hand out there and introduce myself and just talk about what I'm about. This is what I have to offer. And that's all it takes. Because it cascades into all these different things. Ping, 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 ping. It's like once you do it, it opens up this whole other, you're on a new step. You can't make a wrong choice. It's okay. I think people get afraid of like, well, I don't want to make the wrong choice. You just need to make a choice. That's it.
Yes. Sorry, we're going to keep going just a little bit longer because this morning I can get into very like, should I do this or should I do that? So this morning I was like, should I drink coffee or not drink coffee before we meet? Is it going to give me the zoomies and I'll be off focus, or is it going to like give me like the right amount of energy? Just make the choice and deal with however, just be curious what the coffee does to you. And then if it doesn't work out, then you're going to just move on with your day.
It's just new information to guide you with more clear decision making for the next time around or for your next thing.
Yes.
That's it. It takes the pressure off.
That's right.
Cool. I love talking to you, Nicole. We can talk some more again sometime.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll stay in touch for sure. And hey, folks, go and book a session with Nicole.
To go to the clinic, you'll search for biofieldtuningclinic.com.
Biofieldtuningclinic.com. And you can find her there, book a session. And if you are in her neighborhood in Vermont, reach out to her, take a yoga class, or go grab a cup of coffee and meet Nicole.
Yes. Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you, Nicole.